Hey guys, in this video I'm continuing with fan art and I'm making an illustration of Finn and Jake from the Adventure Time. Big thanks to Lana who suggested this idea to me of what I should draw next, and by the way, she has a fantastic YouTube channel that focuses on coloring and you should definitely check her out. I'll link her channel in the description. Before I continue, please leave a like and subscribe if you like these kinds of videos. I plan to make much more of them. Now, I have to admit I haven't watched all the episodes of Adventure Time, but before starting this video I did a bit of research into Pendleton Ward, the creator, and the whole story behind Adventure Time. It is very inspiring. His creativity and ideas are just amazing, and the whole world that he built with Adventure Time, it's just crazy. But I also want to talk about another topic that I was reflecting upon these days and the last couple of weeks, and it is the whole mess about the alleged YouTube pyramid scheme and YouTube artists/influencers, but also about businesses in general. And I'll get into that while you watch me sketch, ink and color this piece. So first, just let me tell you what you will see here. For this illustration I used Clip Studio Paint, where I imported references and then made thumbnails, sketches, and after that I inked it with vector brushes so that I could go back and correct the lines, correct their thickness, and after that I printed the illustration so that I could color it with coloring pencils. And that wasn't enough for me, so I also wanted to finish the illustration with a complete digital painting, even over the line art, just to try something new. Oh, and I would just like to mention why I used vector brushes. Of course, it's much more nicer to enjoy the inking process with your hand and brush and pencil and all the things like drawing from your elbow, rotating the canvas, etc., etc. However, sometimes I have a little bit of like small artist injuries in my elbow or wrist, like a pain which if I ignore, I know I will make a bigger damage to my arm. Actually, I had very big problems with an artist injury a couple of years ago, and it tends to come back whenever I have just a little bit longer time spent on my tablet and drawing. So when I finished sketching and penciling for this illustration, I had a little bit of pain and I didn't want to go through it, so I just decided to use trackpad more. Well, actually I did a rough drawing with the pen and then I combined the use of pen and trackpad during the inking process. And it was a fun and interesting experience. Clip Studio Paint has made this possible, and it can be a very cool approach to illustrating. I mean, I first got to know vectors in Adobe Illustrator, and that is an absolutely amazing software for vectors. It has some of its own problems, actually small details that annoy me, but in my opinion the process of inking with vectors is better in Adobe Illustrator than in Clip Studio Paint. Illustrator is better with selecting the lines and objects, and also the way that you simplify the lines, which means reducing the number of anchor points. And believe it or not, there is something even like a liquify tool in Illustrator, which is super cool. I just love liquify tool in general, and it seems that only Adobe Illustrator has a liquify tool for vectors among all the vector drawing programs. So let's go back to the topic of the YouTube pyramid scheme and businesses, making money, etc. Basically, there is this YouTube creator who goes by the name of Mork Design, and he accused another YouTube creator, Kelsey Rodriguez, that actually she's not a real artist, but that she is just selling the dream, and that she's earning most of the money from selling her courses or through sponsors, and that simply she's not spending enough time doing real art. And I must admit that when I was watching this video, I was like, yeah, he's kind of right. YouTube is unfair, and it seems like YouTubers are running pyramid schemes. However, I also watched the video from Adam Duff and the response from Kelsey, and I think that Mork either overreacted a bit, maybe he's angry or frustrated, or he maybe did everything on purpose in order to gain more views. It is the well-known rage baiting. I don't know if you heard about it. Whatever it is, me personally, I always like to look things from many different perspectives, And in one way, Morg is kind of right, even though I disagree with the way that he was quote-unquote exposing everything and the way that he was talking about fellow creators. When you look things from a different perspective, I think the key to understand everything is that everything is just business. I'm sure that many online artists would simply like to create art and to do many video recordings, video editing, emailing, organizing. They would just like to create art, be it illustration, painting, photography, sculptures, whatever. And even me, I would just like to draw every day and spend less time thinking about what the next video would be, or writing a script for the video, planning everything out. And every serious online artist comes to a turning point where they just have to commercialize their own presence. And they are not the ones who chose this exact way of making money as an artist that we have right now. It's kind of more like YouTube's fault or social media's fault or the current state of the world that we live in. Everything is simply about money, and it's hard to make money by just selling your art. It's more like a lottery. To have in your life certain talents and circumstances connected with hard work, and you're one of the rare artists who are amazing at their craft and you earn a lot of money. While others, for example illustrators, let's say illustrators, have a lot of trouble of earning enough money and having a nice work-life balance. Maybe you have heard about tough working conditions of anime artists in Japan, and I won't go into it right now because it's a topic for a different video. Oh, and a little side note, well, maybe it's not so little, but who are the wealthiest artists and illustrators these days? I'm talking both from the fine art world and from this world that we from YouTube know here, like the social media scene. Let's call it like that, if we can count it as its own category. And the question is, how much do these artists actually make? How much money do they make? Are they earning enough for a comfortable living, or do they feel pressure to keep up an image of being wealthy? Because let's face it, if they didn't, it could impact their work, their lifestyle, and their relationships with clients and buyers. When we think of the ultra-wealthy artists in the fine art world, names that pop up are, for example, Damien Hirst and Jeff Koons. These artists have made millions not just from their artwork, but from clever business ventures and the overall mystique that surrounds them. Damien Hirst, for example, is one of the wealthiest artists today. His sculptures are often very bizarre and have crazy prices at auctions. Similarly, Jeff Koons is famous for his shiny, larger-than-life balloon animal sculptures, which have become iconic in a way. They are symbols of contemporary art, you can say it like that. On a slightly different scale, there are artists like Yayoi Kusama, whose dotted installations and immersive rooms have made her internationally famous, though her wealth doesn't quite reach the Hirst and Koons levels. Also, Takashi Murakami, blending fine art with pop culture, has also found great success by collaborating with fashion brands and musicians. He also used other non-traditional art sales like merchandise and different kind of collaborations. Then I also found other kind of artists, quote-unquote working artists, who earn solid incomes through galleries, commissions, or maybe teaching or speaking. And those are, just to name a few, artists like Kara Walker and Cecily Brown. They are certainly making a strong living doing what they love. Meanwhile, some illustrators and creators on platforms like Patreon are more transparent with their earnings. Yeah, there are actually a bunch of artists doing really well here. Maybe it's time I start my own Patreon. If you're curious, check out a site called Graphtreon. I think that's how you pronounce it. There you can find some of the artists and their earnings on Patreon. For example, Emma Carlisle. Okay, I will put her name in the description of the video. She brings about let's say $11,000 per month, while Jasmine Beckett Griffith earns around $9,400 monthly. And also I found this artist Flesh.png that makes about $8,200. And of course Fran, also known as Franert, earns between $5,000 and $18,000 each month. Meanwhile, Dave Raposa, whose work I really like, has his income that ranges from $2,000 to $7,000 per month. Nice. My main takeaway from all of this is that these artists are like businesses themselves. Success takes good timing, being in the right place at the right time, doing the right things, and having just the right balance of talent, hard work, and luck. And even people, YouTube creators in this case, who are quote-unquote exposing others, being other YouTubers or other influential people, they're also doing that because of money, because it's a business tactic, because simply put, those kind of videos are getting a lot of views. So they take the role of the good guys and are trying to uncover the lies of certain people or some specific frauds. So in a way, they're doing a good deed, and at the same time they're getting the views, likes, comments, etc. CoffeeZilla is a great example. I don't know if you ever saw one of his videos on YouTube. Maybe you can check out his channel. One funny thing is that, and this can be a bit controversial, but in some way almost all businesses lie. Or it's better to say that they seem to bend the truth. This is especially true with big corporations, agencies, and large companies. And sometimes when they get caught, it's game over. But other times they manage to survive and even thrive afterward. Take, for instance, Volkswagen car company. They were exposed for faking emission test results to make their engines seem more environmental friendly. And then there's Theranos, the tech company that claimed it could run extensive medical tests with just a single drop of blood. Unlike Volkswagen, which is still operating despite the scandal, Theranos completely collapsed, and their founders are now in prison. But nevertheless, a lot of businesses never get caught for their small lies or bending the truth. Or even if they do, they find some way to wiggle out from the bad situations. There is this book called All Marketers Are Liars by Seth Godin that makes somewhat provocative look at marketing. The book isn't really saying that all marketers are actual liars, but it explores how marketing relies on creating compelling narratives. Godin suggests that marketing is about storytelling and sometimes even benevolent manipulation. It is an act of selling you an ideal or a dream along with a product. In a way, we all buy into this because we're often aware we are being sold to. But if the product satisfies us, we don't mind. We got what we wanted, and everyone walks away happy. What I'm getting at is that almost every business operates this way, even YouTubers or influencers. Think about it. Every YouTuber is effectively a brand. And honestly, business isn't always built on complete transparency. If a company or individual were entirely open about every little flaw or struggle, it would be like shooting themselves in the foot, if you know what I mean. In reality, almost everything in life requires a little bit of savvy. That's a word. Which means you need not necessarily dishonesty, but a mix of honesty and tact. You can be a good-hearted, genuine person, but a little worldly awareness is very important. For me personally, my own guide in life is this: be a good person, build a solid heart and character, and stay smart. And it's all in the balance of these four things. So, let's finally go back to this idea of the so-called YouTube pyramid scheme. I don't think that most creators want to be business people first. They probably just wanted to have fun and focus on their art. whether that's drawing, illustrating, sculpting, or something else. But as they got deeper into everything, they discovered they had to follow trends, algorithms, and audience demands if they wanted their work to reach people and to do what they love while they earn a living. And we all see those videos about YouTubers revealing their earnings, sharing tips for success, and sharing tricks that are supposed to help you grow. While some of these tips work, the real takeaway is simple, and it's this. Achieving success in any area, even online, demands hard work, dedication, and a bit of resilience to push through. Patience. But a lot of people, especially young or new creators, don't realize this right away. And maybe it's time for all of us, creators, artists, to take a closer look and rethink how we approach all of this. And who knows, we might even discover new ways to make content, grow audience, and earn money. Or maybe that's just me being idealistic. I don't know. In defense of Kelsey Rodriguez, I have to say that the accusation against her that she isn't a real artist because she doesn't create enough art is misguided in so many ways. And viewing art through such a narrow lens misses the point entirely. For instance, there's an entire field known as contemporary art, if you didn't hear about it, which is widely respected as quote-unquote real art by most art critics. Contemporary artists don't necessarily create vast quantities of work. Instead, they focus on thoughtful, sometimes conceptual pieces that make an impact, even if produced at a slower pace. My mother is a ceramic sculptor and she finished art school for that. She graduated, she had many important exhibitions in different galleries, she even participated in an exhibition in Paris. And this online arts like illustration or even sculpture, etc., that we have on YouTube, Instagram, most of it she doesn't consider as real art. Yeah, I'm sorry to say that then. But that's just her view of art. For her, art has to have a story behind it and to be supported by an artist critique and engagement with the broader art world and galleries. It has to have an unusual idea to show something new. And unlike many illustrators who strive to produce a high volume of work to gain visibility on social media, artists recognized by the traditional art community tend to create less often, but with deeper significance and intent. For example, when an artist is preparing for a new exhibition, they might create around 10 to 20 pieces. It could be sculptures, paintings, or something else, and they do it like once or twice a year maybe. The artworks they produce are often sold for significantly higher prices compared to illustrations that are sold online as posters from various online shops. What I'm saying is that real, quote-unquote, real artists doesn't need to generate a large volume of work. Instead, they focus on mastering their craft to a higher degree and building connections and networking in the art world. These artists are typically recognized through their past exhibitions, portfolio, and awards, rather than by their online following. And it's just my opinion that to be a real artist on YouTube, you don't have to create so much art. A good amount of art is good, of course, but not hyper-productivity. So yeah, that's my view, perspective on the whole topic of the YouTube pyramid scheme, and it's something I've been thinking about a lot. This topic really made me reflect, and I felt a bit sad by how challenging things can be for us artists. But I suppose that's just part of the struggle, the fun struggle maybe. And also I expected Kelsey's response to be a bit feistier and maybe with a touch of humor. I don't know why humor, but nevertheless. I respect how she handled it, but I imagined she might mix in some jokes or push back a bit to add a touch of drama, showing that she's not somebody to be messed with, while still being open to critique, of course, which we all have to be, honestly. Well, that's it from me, and don't forget to subscribe or leave a like if you have a wish for what I could draw next, and thanks for watching, and until the next time, bye.